Bonjour et bienvenue à Gourmet, the channel where I cook my way through all the cookbooks I own and have never used. We are still working with Mastering the Art of French Cooking by Julia Child, where we will be making, drumroll, Boeuf Bourguignonne, or beef stew in red wine with mushrooms and onions. We all know this recipe. Chances are you've probably had this recipe. I've made this recipe before. I kind of went back and forth on whether I should make it or not, but I realized this is the recipe from the book, so we have to do it. But yeah, let's get started. To begin on Boeuf Bourguignonne, we need 6 ounces of bacon chopped into sticks, a quarter-inch thick and a half inch, 1.5 inches long. And it says to boil the bacon in the quarts of water, drain and pat dry. Guess what? We're not doing that. I want this bacon to be flavorful. Um, what I'm doing right now is just preheating my oven to 450. So that'll be ready when we're done with this step. But like I said, we did the bacon thing before. I don't want to do it again. I'm just going to cook the bacon how I normally cook the bacon, which is to keep all of the salt in there. Now, you'll see there's a little bit of onion on my knife. I did kind of prepare a couple things already, just trying to get better. But, ooh, that was probably not great. Here is our bacon. I need to bring my knife to the knife sharpener. Somebody make a note for that for me because I have yet to do it. But this is our bacon. I'm just going to throw this in there. I didn't measure out 6 ounces. I'm just kind of going with what was at the store. And I'm not even cutting these necessarily all the same size, but we will get these nice and crispy. Like I said, I'm not going to blanch them in water. I want the salt with this bacon. Yeah, so that's what we're going to do. I'm going to go ahead and wash my hands, and I will be right back. And I'm back. I'm just kind of spreading this out a little bit. We're just going to cook the bacon until it's nice and crisp, however long that takes. While we cook our bacon, what I am going to do is go ahead and cut my meat for the next step. So this is what I bought. Here we go. I don't know if you can see or not, but it's just a shoulder roast. I went ahead and bought this because it was still cheaper than buying the cut up meat this time. Couldn't tell you why. So I'm just going to cut this myself. Figure what the heck, it'll be fine. So we just need, stew meat chunks. So I'm thinking probably like that thick. Does the book say? It says into 2-inch cubes. So we probably won't get exactly 2 inches, which I'm fine with, honestly. I don't really mind. Just trying to get as much as we can for, the best cost and the best way we know how. Now, I will say it's probably easier to just buy the pre-cut meat for the stews, but that's not what we're doing. There we go. And I'm just stacking this in little piles. Just so I probably should have used a bigger cutting board, but hey, we've committed really hard to this step. So there we go. Perfect. And then I'm just going to do them that big. I don't really know. That seems like cubes. That's what we're going for. Trying not to burn my cutting board on the burner. Okay, I'm just going to throw that one in there, and then we'll do one more slice here. That's what these guys are going to look like. I'm running out of room on this cutting board, so I'm going to go ahead and grab a paper plate, wash my hands. We'll see you when we're ready for the next step, maybe not. I don't know. So we're about ready for the meat to go in. I'm just going to take my bacon and put them to the side on a paper towel for right now to get off some of that fat. Now, this is not part of the recipe because we didn't blanch our bacon. So what you're supposed to do is blanch the bacon and then brown it in olive oil. But as we know from our other recipe that I can't remember the name of right now, when you blanch the bacon, it just takes away all the salt from it. And I am of the belief that I want the salt. I also want this bacon fat. Rendering out or boiling it does take off some of the fat as well. So I want all of this bacon fat. I want as much as I can. So instead of adding straight to this bowl over here, we've gone ahead and just added into, or just put on a paper plate to the side with a paper towel on it. Now I'm going to go ahead and get the beef in piece by piece. And what we're doing is we're just browning the beef on all sides. This is going to take some time, but we have our oil pretty hot, which is what you want. And I'm just going to call it there. You just do this in batches. You've seen in the other videos kind of how we do it. We're just trying to get this nice and browned. It shouldn't take too long because our fat is nice and hot. Like I said, we're not trying to cook the beef, we're just trying to brown it. Some pieces are going to be a little more brown than others, just as the nature of the bowl. You can see we're even picking up some like extra bacon bits, but that's okay. But some of those look real nice, that one not so much. But I will not make you watch all of this. This is kind of what we're doing, just batch by batch. When we're done with the beef and batches, we're just going to put them in this bowl. So yeah, I will see you guys when this step is finished. Okay, so here we are. We just finished browning all of our meat. Here's what it looks like. I've got it in the bowl. I went ahead and put the bacon in there too. Once that was nice and dry. Now we need 1 carrot and 1 onion. So I don't have carrots. I have some carrot sticks. Probably this way. Just, I was eating, doing some carrot sticks and ranch for snacks. So I'm just going to get a handful of these. I'm going to call it there. And I'm going to say that that's 1 carrot. Do I know for sure? No, but it'll be fine. And I'm just going to go ahead and chop these into cubes. Okay, there's our carrot. I am just going to go ahead and get those started in here. And then what we're going to do is we need 1 onion. And I have my onion to the side, sort of halfway prepped already. You should all be so proud of me. I already peeled it. But here is my onion. It would help if I went all the way through the onion. And I'm just going to do it in like long slices like this. I guess rather big ones because I cut that terribly. Oh, geez. I'm going to, go through and do slices kind of like this on this side. Maybe that's how I should have started this whole time, but it is what it is. And then save that piece of onion because we want all of the onion we can have. And then I'll do the same thing over here. Just kind of do some thinner, longer slices. I'm sure there's a professional out there that is yelling at me right now, being like, how dare you cut your onions this way? They're not all the same. And I'm just going to say I don't really care. It's going in a stew. It'll all work out in the end. And here are my onions. I got my carrots in there. And we're just going to saute these until they are browned and nice and delicious looking. Now, this recipe does say when you're done with this step to drain out any of the fat that's left, but you guys can kind of see here that we don't really have any left. We definitely have coated the pan, and it will cook our onions and carrots really nicely, but there's not really any of that fat left. So I don't think we have to worry about that step. And that's the step that I normally don't even do. If I find that we have some fat in here, once we're done sauteing these guys, I will go ahead and add some in, but I just, looking at it, I don't think that's going to be an issue. Oh, I forgot to chop the bottom of the onion off. Well, too late now. I'm going to eat it. Oops. It would also help if I turned my pot back on and turned it off while I cut the onion. Well, I'll see you guys when these are finished, however long that may be. So here we are. We've got our vegetables pretty much mostly brown. There's, of course, a few onions that probably need a little bit longer, but for the most part, they're doing good. There's just the little inside bits that didn't get it, but you can see it smells great. We also, as you can see as I'm stirring, we don't have any of that fat left, which is fine because we're going to have to pour it out anyways. So now what I'm going to do is pour my beef back in here, all its juices, get everything out. I'm just going to sit this to the side. And now we're going to salt and pepper this. And I'm going to be pretty liberal with the pepper. We have the bacon, so I won't go as heavy-handed with the salt. But this is the first time we're adding salt or pepper. Okay, and now we're just going to stir all this together. Kind of try to distribute the salt and pepper a little bit. I am excited to see how this turns out. I will say I've never actually made this recipe to a T. This is the closest I'm ever going to come to making this all the way. I don't know what that says about me, but I'm sure it says something. Anyways, we'll move on. So, now we need to toss our meat and our bacon, everything in here. We're going to toss with a couple tablespoons of flour. So I'm just going to go ahead and sprinkle. That's probably a little more than 2 tablespoons, but we want everything to get nice and coated. And what we're going to do is a step that I've never actually done, and that is stick this in the oven at 450 for 4 minutes, and then give everything a nice stir, and then flip again or not flip, but let it sit in the oven again for 4 minutes. This is to kind of brown and bake some of that flour off, I think. So we'll see. You can see that the flour's soaking up any of the juice that we had. But I'm going to get this in as even as the layer possible. Get everything off my spoon that I can. And then I'm going to grab my oven mitts. And this goes in the oven at 450 for 4 minutes. And then we'll take it out, flip everything, do it for another 4 minutes. So I will see you guys in about 8 minutes because I don't think you need to see the flip in between. Here we are with our meat that's been cooked in the oven at 450 for 8 minutes with the stir halfway through. It definitely got a little more brown, which I guess is the whole point, but it doesn't look that much different. But now is the exciting part. Now we get to build the sauce of this whole thing. So I'm going to go ahead and pour in 3 cups of red wine. It says a full-bodied red wine like a Chianti. Didn't buy that. I don't really like red wine, so I went with a red blend from 19 Crimes. I'll show you the label when I'm done pouring. And yes, I am fully just eyeballing what 3 cups might look like. But this is the wine I went with. I normally like a red blend, so I figure if I'm going to cook with it, you should also like to drink it. And then we need 2 to 3 cups of beef stock. once again, I'm just using a Swanson beef stock. This is from the video I made not too long ago. And we're just going to go ahead and finish off this carton because that was about 2 to 3 cups. Depending on how this goes, I might add a little more red wine. I might not. But that's okay. So now we're going to add 1 tablespoon of tomato paste. Sorry, I'm just reading. Perfect. Okay. I just did a big squeeze of tomato paste. And now we need 2 cloves of mashed garlic, which I realized I forgot a spoon. So I guess I'll grab a spoon real quick. And you know me, we're just using regular old pre-minced garlic. And I'm just going to do a big dollop. Is that too much? Yes. Do I care? No. It's going to be delicious no matter what. Okay. And then, so we've got our garlic. We need a half teaspoon of thyme and a crushed bay leaf. So here is my thyme. Just going to sprinkle that in. I'm going to go ahead and grab a bay leaf and crunch it. Okay, good enough. And then it does say to add the blanched bacon rind, but since our bacon was pre-cut and everything, we don't have a blanched bacon rind, which is fine. I'm just going to go ahead and give this a stir. I will say sometimes when I've made this before, because you like serve it with onions and mushrooms and things, I've actually put them in the pot with this, with the meat and everything, and the other onions and carrots. But we're not doing this time. We're going to keep all of it separate like it says to do. Now I'm going to go ahead and cover this. We've turned our oven down to 350. I'm going to cover this, put this in the oven at 350 for about 3 hours. So we'll see you in a little bit while we do some of the extras that we're adding to this. Okay, so here we are with our mushrooms and onions. They're looking pretty good. I'm just going to go ahead and splash a little wine in there just to kind of deglaze our pan. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set them aside in here. Don't worry, it's not that really dirty of a bowl. I was putting potatoes in it for a total experiment that may or may not make it to camera. But these are our mushrooms and onions. So I'm just turning the burner off. And we'll set these aside until our dish is ready. Okay, so we're about to take the Boeuf Bourguignonne out of the oven, but just so you guys can see where we are, these are the mushrooms and onions that we did earlier. And then off camera, I made a risotto. It's just mozzarella cheese, some lemon juice. I boiled the risotto in, what's that? in chicken stock and put some parsley in there. So yeah, I think we're getting ready. I'm going to go ahead and get my oven mitts and get this out of the oven. It's been just at 3 hours. Go ahead and turn it off. It smells so good, but it has immediately fogged up my glasses. Let's see where we are. That looks great. Okay, so now we have to take out the liquid. It says to strain it in the book. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do like we did in our beef stew video, and I'm just going to ladle it out. I know that's not the same, but too bad. Okay, so that's not all the liquid, but that's the majority of the liquid. Let's go ahead and turn that on high. So we've got our burner on. And we're supposed to scoop out the fat. I'm not doing that. But we're just gonna let this cook on high for a couple minutes. It says until it's thick enough to coat the back of the spoon lightly. So we'll see what that does. I know that the flour's in here, so that's what's supposed to kind of thicken it up. But I don't have the highest hopes. I mean, I guess you can see it kind of has thickened. It's a little thick, but probably not where exactly they want it. I definitely spilled some on the burner. But I guess I'll go get ready. I'm going to dump in our mushrooms and onions. Get those guys out. And I'm just going to give this a big stir. Well, I don't know what is on my burner, but got something on it. And I just have my burner on high because we want to boil the sauce. Okay. Could I have used a little bit more meat? Sure, but that's fine. It's literally shredding apart, so I'm pretty excited for this. We've had this boiling for just about maybe 3 minutes total. And you can see it has a pretty nice consistency to it. It definitely coats the back of the spoon. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this off, and I'm actually just going to plate our dish, and I will see you guys in the final verdict. Here is our final dish, our final plating of our Boeuf Bourguignonne. I just went ahead and plated it on top of the risotto I made. The book says you can serve it with potatoes or butter noodles, but I thought risotto will be really good with this. So let's go ahead and give it a try. The meat I'm eating this with the spoon, and the meat just truly falls apart. I'm just going to give this a bite. I didn't include any of the risotto, but I'll eat that later. That's great. I really don't see anything wrong with it. It was easy. All the ingredients were super easy to find. I liked this one. I kind of knew I would. This is my favorite version of this dish I've ever had. No. I like the way that people do it where they play with it a little bit more. But I think that this is really solid. Like for the cookbook, it has to get a 10 out of 10, right? There's a reason why it's so famous. It makes sense. But I think I've had better versions of it. But that's not what I'm judging against, right? We're judging on the criteria of, was it easy to make? Was the recipe easy to follow? Were the ingredients easy to find? And, did I want to quit halfway through? So the fact that I made it all the way through, yes, I didn't follow the recipe exactly. I kind of did my own thing with the bacon, and then we didn't have all of the fat to throw away after we sauteed our onions and carrots in the bacon grease, but sue us, right? So yeah, I like this one. I think it gets a 10 out of 10. Like I said, ingredients were super easy to follow. The recipe was easy. I liked pretty much how I didn't have to do anything really after the initial prep. Yeah, there's a reason this one is as famous as it is. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.